The Angry Chicken is a production of Amove TV. Bookmark amove.tv for more gaming and esports shows. The Angry Chicken is directly supported by listeners like you via patreon.com/TAC.
Everyone, get in here! Ready for action! I've got the beast in my sight.
A podcast about Hearthstone, Heroes of Warcraft. This is The Angry Chicken.
Greetings and welcome back, everybody, to another episode of TAC. I'm Garrett Weinzerl. He's Willie Dills Gregory, wearing a captain's hat. And she's Jocelyn Wofford, currently being choked out by a fairy dragon.
Brightwing, specifically.
I mean, is it specifically...
And not just any fairy dragon.
No, very specifically Brightwing.
Is it
I've definitely targeted Brightwing with a hero power before. Well, in HOTS, but yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that I guess that would explain why you're being choked out, because Brightwing is a murderous fairy dragon, and she deserves to be in Hearthstone, I believe. We really need specifically Brightwing. I know we have fairy dragon, and I know that their markings are indistinguishable from one another because they look exactly the same. I'm racist towards fairy dragons, as it turns out, but we need a Brightwing, man. I would like Brightwing as a...
totally do like the Monarch Brightwing or something. Like
No.
do it. No,
No, because Brightwing actually, it's a fact that Brightwing has the worst skins in all of Heroes of the Storm. Every skin she has is awful, and the correct skin to use is just the dark regular
monkey?
skin. No, the monkey's actually the worst. If one skin is the worst, it's the worst. Fun fact: the person that made the monkey Brightwing skin not fired, executed in front of a live audience at Blizzard. It was that bad. They just can't.
For all those people who really want to work at Blizzard.
yeah. It's they basically have like a King Joffrey type who just runs around saying off with that person's head. It's a little rough. Although this one time I agree with the decision that was made. Hey, yeah. So that was fun. We should have a Brightwing hero in Hearthstone. That's what I would like, because I want to emote as Brightwing.
Yes. Oh my God, that would be so good.
I would be super stoked about that. Really excited. So, how's Hearthstone treating you guys this week? I'll throw to Dills since I threw to Joss last week, I believe.
Well, I've been playing basically nothing but Wild. Although it's weird. I'm like rank... I felt like I've been playing almost nothing but Wild. And I'm like rank 13 or something. And this is after a lot of games. And it is so bizarre to feel like you're playing a lot of games of Hearthstone and you're not getting anywhere. Then the other day I was like, I'll just play a game on Standard real quick because I'm not paying attention. And I swapped over to Standard, and somehow I'm like rank 9 in Standard. And I was like, wait a minute.
You right at the beginning of the month, you were up pretty high, because I know when I started to climb, you were already at 10, and I was like, oh my God, I'm so far behind.
See, yeah, I must have just had like a little spurt where I did really well. But like it was so bizarre because I felt like I played nothing but Wild, and I was like, okay, I'll swap over there. I'll probably be like 17. Apparently, I'm 9 in Standard, and that's with very low effort. So this is kind of going to highlight, I think, when we get to our conversation later about Wild, the difference that I've been feeling between the two major formats in Hearthstone. It is insane in there. We were talking about it a little bit on the Slack, and I mean, it's fun, but it's crazy. And so that's been my week in Hearthstone, is just kind of butting my head up against many differently sized brick walls, I guess, trying to figure out it's just a super weird time. But I'm having a blast.
I think they're just all the same size wall, but they're made of different types of brick, or like one's
different
cinder block.
Yeah, different densities.
Yeah, one's cinder block, one's brick, one's concrete, I don't know. One's foam core, but somehow it beat you.
Yeah, exactly. No, the foam core ones were all the quest rogues. I just burst right through those, and then there was another brick one on the other side. So
yeah, we're gonna talk.
It's just insane, but it's this is kind of what I think I want in Wild, to be honest. I mean, this is not what Wild felt like when there's only 2 sets that were only available there that weren't available elsewhere. I wanted it to be this crazy place where everybody's doing really broken stuff, and that is what's going on. So
yes,
I guess I got what I wished for.
I'm curious if it'll stay this way. Because to me, I'm looking at this, and because of the multiple bones Team 5 has thrown Wild in terms of announcing a tournament that folks can go and qualify for, and then also having the Heroic Tavern or the Heroic Tavern Brawl that was specifically Wild. It's, to me, I'm looking at this and saying this is probably the closest we'll get to like a Wild scenario that we get to experience that's similar to Standard right after an expansion hits. I think that there's been a huge influx of Wild players as of recently, and that's
people try harding, but they don't know what's good still.
Exactly,
right? Like that's kind of what's going on. Yeah, I think that's a pretty good. Yeah,
analogy. I think of the first 2 to 3 weeks after any expansion, and Agoro has, it's gone on even longer. There's still iteration even to today, but if you really think about those first 2 weeks after an expansion releases, that's what I would assume part of what's happening right now in Wild is. But I'm also with you, Dills. I hope it stays at least close to this level of variety in what we're seeing, and I'm also really enjoying it, even though good luck trying to formulate a strategy for consistent wins.
Yeah, I think, though, it's just if you know your deck is good, then you know your deck is good. And I think what I've been doing a little bit too much of, which is something I tell people not to do, is swapping decks in and out and playing like 5 different things. But it's because, like you said, it still all feels very fresh. It feels like there's a lot of ideas unexplored, and I want to explore them, right? So I haven't really like sat there and just like grinded Pirate Warrior. I haven't really sat there and just been like, oh, Egg Druid, that's my thing. I've been like, hey, let's do a little of this, a little of that, dab my toes in this thing, So that's probably the bigger reason why I've hit a brick wall, but it's a kind of an interesting experience because I haven't felt this in a while at these ranks, right? I've definitely hit a brick wall at like 5. And like 3 and whatever, but not at 13.
Well, and you're doing like you're streaming most of this, right?
I'm streaming pretty much all of it right now. Yeah, I don't think I've played any Hearthstone this month, not on stream.
Yeah, so I feel like that's probably playing into it too, right? Because you're choosing decks that are a little bit more fun to watch. Like you could just play Pirate Warrior, but nobody really wants to watch that as much as they want to see you like Milkshake or, like just play something a little bit more fun and interactive.
It's true. It is true. And, it's kind of like the burden of streaming is that if you have a goal in mind, like when I had the month where I was like, I'm really going to try hard for Legend, I was playing nothing but meta decks. And sure, like people were still watching, but it wasn't the same level of enjoyment that I'm sure my chat was having when I'm playing Milkshake on ranked ladder, right? Like doing things that a lot of people like don't want to do. It's kind of, it's like, when you're in a band and you have a crazy haircut, and people want to go see you because they're like, I wish I could have a crazy haircut, but I got to go to my work tomorrow.
Is that why you go see bands?
Live through these guys.
Is that why you go see bands?
You know what I mean? Like they look like the way maybe you wish you could dress, but you're like, I can't really look like that.
I mean, I usually go because I like the music, but okay, that's cool.
I think that there's multiple parts to it. Yeah. If you want your rock stars to not
get
look
what
like,
you're saying.
Yeah, you don't want your rock stars to look like your boss. You want them to look like somebody who works at Starbucks or whatever, right? But you imagine that.
It'd be so much more entertaining if you just double down on this. Like, yes, Garrett, that's exactly how I picked the music I listen to.
Yeah. I look at pictures of the band and I go, yep, all right. Going to see that one.
That's how I do it. Oh, they're wearing sparkly outfits. I'm in.
Hell yeah. You don't want to see your band in business attire,
Exactly.
Or like business casual. They got like some tucked in button-up shirts and some jeans. Like, no,
Skinny
I don't want that.
Well, that went down a road I wasn't expecting, but
that was a delightful tangent.
It was, but I get your point, Dills. Even if I took that much further than it needed to go, but yeah, no, I'm with you. I'm very similar. Like it's the same reason I gave like a couple weeks ago, and I said I don't think I'm going to play in the Wild Heroic Tavern Brawl because if I'm playing in that, I want to win. And if I want to win, I'm going to play Reno Lock. And guess what? I played a lot of Reno Lock before Ungoro, and I am not ready to go back to that deck. I've played enough of it for right now.
There's actually some pretty fun versions of Reno Lock right now, though, by the way. The Cruel version, which everybody kind of just discounted in Standard before, is actually pretty good in Wild now. Because when Cruel was introduced in Mean Streets, we didn't have access to, in Standard anyway, we didn't have access to whatchamacallit, the 4-mana 3/4 that summons a demon when it dies. Void Caller. But you do in Wild, so it actually works pretty well, and I've had some really fun games with that. So it's at least not the Reno lock you grew up with, Garrett. So
I know. There's some differences, but the thing with Reno locks, I mean, there's so many cards that it's not always going to feel different. Sometimes you might not draw the things that make it feel unique and Wild. And I'm just I think for me it just boils down to I'm really enjoying playing decks with 2 copies of cards in them again.
I can see that. And also we talked about this a few weeks ago, maybe, like, it is weird playing so much Wild where I feel like there's so much going on in Standard that I still don't have my head wrapped around yet. And it's like there's too much to do right now that I don't feel like I'm actually getting the full experience of the game by kind of forcing myself to pick and choose one. But if you really want to go for something in Hearthstone, everything is so grindy. Like, if I wanted to do the arena thing, I had to just play arena the whole damn month if I wanted to try for that. Because 30 runs is a lot of freaking runs, man. Especially if you're winning at a rate where you might actually have a shot. I mean, you're spending 2-3 hours a run. So, yeah.
That's the thing. You basically have to spend 2 to 3 hours a day, assuming you get good runs in playing arena. You have to, play somewhere between 200 and 300 games if you're a fairly decent player to make legend in one of the 2 competitive ladders. So if you
people who make it in both are crazy.
Yeah, I was gonna say, if you try to do all of that, then you're going like 600 games just to get legend on ladder, plus 3 hours a day in arena. So your entire life is Hearthstone.
Yep. And good God, if you want to take a day off, it's like, well, I guess I'm gonna play 6 to 9 hours today, and it better be your job. I hope you're making money streaming,
because that's the next day.
That's hard to do. That's hard to pull off otherwise. But I mean, it should be that way though, right? Like, for that kind of stuff is, I don't think, what the general Hearthstone player is trying to accomplish. I don't think. If your mom out there plays Hearthstone, no offense. I mean, Mother's Day just happens, and no offense to all the try-hard moms out there. I was
going to say, Garrett, where are you going? Talking about my mom.
She's a wonderful person, I'm sure.
Sucks at Hearthstone.
But like, if my mom was playing Hearthstone, I don't think she would be going to try to make the top 100 arena list. I don't think that would be her goal.
Or top 64 in Wild. I mean, that's especially, it feels like there's a lot of people going for it, so it's going to be tough to do that.
Yep. No, I completely agree.
It feels like there's a lot of people going for it who didn't realize how hard it was going to be, because when I jumped over to Wild, I've been playing a lot.
I raised my hand because it never felt this hard before.
Yeah, but I mean, I just jumped over to Wild for the first time in months, so I was all the way down at 25. And I mean, like, I was seeing like super meta decks with tons of legendaries and stuff, and I was like, what the heck is going on? This is rank 25. And it seemed like I was playing against a lot of the people who thought they'd just jump in and go boom up the ranks. And because I was having like long competitive games at low ranks, I was like, what the heck is going on here? So I think that there's a lot of people doing that too, kind of like, okay, I got my account to Legend on Standard. I'm going to switch over now and go for top 64 on Wild. Holy crap, it's actually hard over here.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, before we completely talk ourselves dry of Wild chat, which will never happen, by the way, but we are going to be talking about it quite a bit in strategy. Are you guys excited? Because it looks like we're going to be partying at the Hilton this year.
Absolutely. I'm super excited.
Yeah. So BlizzCon's still a little ways out, but we have been mentioning the Kickstarter for Con Before the Storm on the last few episodes of this year podcast, and also some of the other A-Move shows. But their first stretch goal was they were going to give us a space in the Hilton. This is the night before BlizzCon, to have our party that we usually have at the bowling alley. So no need to walk a mile away from BlizzCon this year. We're going to be right there, right next to the con, in
with
the Anaheim
a bartender,
Hilton, with a private bartender. So I'm very excited about all of this. So a huge thanks to Con Before the Storm for even allowing us to piggyback on the back of their Kickstarter, but also to everyone who went out there and supported them. It's still going. There's still 13 days to go for funding. There are still many stretch goals to hit. So if you want to support them, check out Con Before the Storm on Kickstarter. They have a URL. It's kickstarter.conbeforestorm.com. There is no the in that URL. You did not miss here. And also, before we move along, I want to bring up a correction from last week where we were talking about the pity timer and all that jazz. We said that the pity timer is not expansion specific, but many of you have written in, tweeted, commented, etc., that the community consensus is that the pity timer is expansion specific.
Which it would be so much better if Blizz would just confirm.
Yes,
we didn't say specifically that it wasn't, but we started off talking about get packs in this expansion until you get your legendary. That means you've hit your pity timer. Then start saving for the next expansion. And then we were like, well, maybe you can get almost to that, but then that's not good advice if this is the case. So,
I think we did explicitly. I think at one point one of us did explicitly say that it wasn't expansion specific, but I believe it was one sentence, and none of us continued to talk about it. And we just moved on to another subject. But
I said, it would be great if Blizz would just confirm this, but it is kind of difficult to have conversations about this stuff and strategies around pack openings and things when we don't have all the information. So I don't think it's anyone's fault for, quote unquote misspeaking. Can we even misspeak when it's not confirmed one way or another? But the data of the community seems to suggest that it is expansion specific. So we'll go with that, and you guys can stop writing emails and tweets.
I mean, you can keep doing it, but we're done. So before we move on to news, let's thank our sponsor this week, Uniregistry, where you can go and find yourself the perfect domain name. These guys also have the .game domain that sponsors our other episodes, so there's some crossover for you. But they have great, easy-to-use tools. You don't need to worry about annoying checkout upcharges. They're not going to ask you if you want fries with that unless you really want fries. I'm sure you could talk to someone in support, and they would ask you if you want fries. I don't know. But whatever the case is, uniregistry.com, great place to go and go shopping for your next domain name. And I also want to remind everyone that if you are going to E3, which apparently I just heard that public tickets were sold out of, but if you were lucky enough to get a ticket, or if you're working in the industry and you're going to be there, Uniregistry and .game will have a booth there on the floor. Go say hi to them, mention AMove TV, and you'll get yourself some swag. They also want everyone to know that they're going to have some special discounts on the show floor. So if you're there, if you're at E3, first of all, I'm jealous. Second of all, go say hi to the Uniregistry and .game folks, because they support the show, and we really appreciate it. Now,
I actually was looking up some stuff about Uniregistry. They offer some pretty cool stuff that other people don't. Security being one of the most important ones that I noticed. And I know some of us have dealt with security issues in the past. So
yeah, someone tried to break into my Patreon account today. So
you need that security, man. You need that security.
Yep.
That's not good.
They don't try to sell you all the other stuff, but they do offer you the things that are really important, security, which is great.
Hey, Joss. I know this is not the time or place, but did you get an email saying that someone was trying to get in, or how'd you find out?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Cool.
Yeah. Well, I got like four emails in a row saying like password reset emails, and I'm like, I'm not going to click this link, people. And even then, I would be clicking it, not you. So stop trying to reset my password. Plus, I have two-factor authentication, so it doesn't matter anyway. But that's because my Patreon account was broken into like 6 months ago. So
if you have that two-factor authentication stuff, like I've had that too, where I get a text that's like, here's your code, and I'm like, I didn't ask for the code, man.
Yep.
It's some good stuff, and you can get a free one from Google until Google becomes sentient and basically becomes Skynet and ruins all of our lives. But until then, I'm really enjoying my free two-factor authentication from Google. But I'm glad they didn't get in. And now let's talk some Hearthstone news, because there's a few things this week.
Good news, everyone!
We have some new features coming to Hearthstone, and it was announced a couple hours before the show, which I could get used to. Team 5, thank you. Keep doing this. Thank you very much. First off, completing quests against friends, that's going to be permanent from now on. Once this update goes live, we'll be able to, Jocelyn, I'll be able to play you, Dills, you'll be able to play Joss, whatever other version slips off between the three of us that there is that works, or anyone else on our friends list, we can challenge them, play a game. Do not concede. You got to finish that game out, but you'll be able to do your quests against friends, and I'm really happy about that.
Yeah, it's great. I'll say this though.
Worried.
One thing I will say is if I'm streaming, I get a lot of people who are like, hey, I got the 80 gold quest, and happy to oblige, because that's one you can only do that way. But please don't come to me and be like, I got 5 priest wins. You want to play? I will not be indulging you with that. But
no,
fair enough.
But this is still great for a lot of like. This is fantastic.
Mm-hmm. I was still a little bit worried though, because in the actual post, it's like you can play or compete against your friends. That's coming, and I'm like, oh yay, that's good. And then they're like, with some exceptions, and I was like, oh man. But then I looked at the exceptions, and it's like things that you can't do playing against a friend, and it was like watching a thing, and I was or like spectating a match, and then what was another one? There was like 2 or 3 examples that they gave, and I was like, oh well, clearly, because these are things you do without actually playing, so. Clearly, you can't play against friends and get these quests done. Like, that just logically makes sense. So
Jocelyn, you're clearly forgetting this is the internet, and if you don't state things explicitly, people will be typing in all caps telling you how dumb you are.
I guess so. But so it does seem like all of the games or all of the quests where you actually have to play games to complete them are going to be playable against your friends, which is really, really cool.
Yeah. The other big thing here is deck importing. This is really sweet. There is going to be a copy option, a copy button, if you click on the hero portrait at the top of a completed deck when you're in-game in your collection manager. And it is going to copy that deck list to your clipboard, literally just in text, that you can then paste anywhere. And at the bottom of that text, it'll have the name of all the cards, the number of those cards. At the very bottom of that will be a one-line code that you can copy. And if it is on your, basically like on your clipboard, and you go into Hearthstone, you go to create a new deck, the game will know that it's on your clipboard, and it will populate the deck based off of that unique code. So,
so you don't actually need to paste it anywhere. You just need to copy it, and then it's in your computer's memory, and then Hearthstone will know. So
yeah, which is crazy to me. This is one of those things that goes back to, like, I don't know, Angry Chicken episode 10, where we say, wouldn't it be cool if? And here we are 210 episodes later, or just 200 episodes later. I'm using 10 as my example. Yeah, and we're actually getting this, and it's, I think, really intuitive. And this is something I didn't think we were going to get anytime ever, because it just seemed like one of those things that was probably more difficult to accomplish than we probably gave credit to.
So you just have to... Yeah, you just.
This is actually something you can do in Magic the Gathering Online already. And you can do it in Shadowverse, and you can do it in, maybe Eternal. You can do this in a lot of actual card games. This is kind of how card games. Or I think Hex, you could do this. This is kind of how card games have always done this. It's like a text list, and then they just recognize, as long as it's formatted in this exact way, then they go, okay, cool, and then they put them all in. And the Magic Online, it would put them all in, and then if you didn't have the card, it'd be like grayed out. But it would like show you the card, and then it'd just be like, you don't have this one or something like that, which I think it's going to work similar here, where it's going to be like in a deck recipe. If you don't have the card, you can click on it, and it'll suggest like a different card for you. But this is how card games should handle it. This is a huge deal that Hearthstone's putting it in, because it's like, this is one of the things where some people have complained that they come over to Hearthstone, they're like, where's this function? Where's that function? Why is it not here? And this is kind of one of those quality of life things that is just going to be so massive. Like, everyone's had the experience, right, of like getting a deck list, looking at the screenshot, and being like, what card am I missing?
Yeah. How am I at 30
over.
Cards when I still have 2 more to add? Yeah.
It's like,
and then finally you realize there's only like one copy of something.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And you're just like,
Every time I go to remake Egg Druid, it's like, I put in 2 Echoing Oozes, and everyone says just to use 1. That's always it for me. Dills, I like all of those examples you gave except MTGO. Never use MTGO to tell me that it's something that's in that is not in Hearthstone, because they have a
terrible UI, but they do have a lot of features.
It is the opposite end of like the issues that Hearthstone has, because it is so polished and on multiple devices.
Platforms.
Magic the Gathering Online is the complete opposite. It is only on PC. It is busted as all get out, but because it is this cobbled together heap of trash that somehow is a playable game, they can put basically anything they want in it.
Well, yeah. I mean, in Magic the Gathering Online, in Magic the Gathering Online's, I don't know. MTGO's defense, it's really old. You know what I mean?
I know.
And so it was made at a time it's true. It's like there's all this stuff, and it's put together terribly, to the point where I remember when me and Jocelyn were trying to play, we couldn't even figure out how to make a card work, because you were just like, right-click it. Okay, Where is the thing? What?
Like, it was like, I think it wasn't it like putting counters on it or something?
You're trying to move
like,
counters from one card to another, and it was just impossible to figure out how to do. We were Googling things. It was terrible.
As our turn timers are ticking down.
Yeah, and I will forgo copy paste deck lists for the usability of Hearthstone all day, every day. But I think that slowly over the the years that Hearthstone's been out, we can start adding in these things in ways that make sense, and this is definitely the way that makes sense. And with something like more of this type of stuff is going to continue to make the game just like that much better, right? As time goes on, because we still have the usability, that doesn't go away just because we add stuff like this in. But it's just one of those things where I'm so glad it's here, and it's like I'm not gonna bitch and moan about how long it took. I'm just gonna say I'm so glad it's here. But it is a thing that does exist in other games. I just want to make sure that that's people know that, right? Like it's in other games. It's not like something totally fresh and new. They didn't invent this. It's just it makes sense to now have it here too. But I think the one thing that's going a little overlooked in all of this, if you have a gold card and a non-gold card, they stack now.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm so excited about this.
That's huge.
I even tweeted out earlier, and I mean this, guys. I think this is the biggest thing for me. I'm such a UI nerd. I'm like, finally, when I can stop getting teased by folks on Twitter when I have one gold and one not gold in my deck list.
So then, what is the outline? Is it gold or is it plain?
I would guess gold.
I
would guess gold too, but
yeah. But it's so the great thing about it is there's a lot of streamers who will screenshot their deck list because they're not using a deck tracker, and then they'll just post it on the side, and then you've got an extra long list, right? It's hard for you to just peruse it, and then although I guess that won't really be a problem anymore, because now you'll probably just make a Nightbot command that just says current deck list, and then it's the actual copy,
and it just gives you the code. Yeah
It's a blended outline. Okay.
Interesting.
All right.
I didn't even notice that, and they even gave an example, but whatever the case is. Also, speaking of missing cards or being what I miss, if you don't have all of the cards for a deck list that you're trying to import, it works just like a deck recipe. So it'll be kind of grayed out, and you can actually click on the missing card to go and find yourself a substitute, or break down and craft that card. Hopefully, you're not Justin Robert Young and craft a golden version of a legendary instead of a regular.
I was looking at that clip so just for context for anybody, that he was trying to craft a Tyrion. And he's hovering over it, and it's a golden Tyrion. Very clearly to me, it's a golden Tyrion. I'm like, oh, wow, he's making golden Tyrion. That's awesome. And then he clicks it, and then just clicks it away. Doesn't really think about it, and then realizes all of a sudden, oh, it's golden. He spent $3,200 down to $1,600. But I mean,
and once you click away, the undo button's
you can't undo,
right? Yeah.
Yeah. You could disenchant.
Well, yeah, but
but not for full price. But
yeah,
the good news is he has a golden Tyrion. A golden Tyrion is probably always going to be around. So it's not like he made, a golden, new, a golden Osrook or something like that. And it's going to be gone in a few years.
And if Tyrion ever goes to the Hall of Fame, Justin, don't worry, you'll get that dust back. Just wait.
Yeah, that's true.
2, 3, 4, maybe 5 years until Tyrion goes into the Hall of Fame. And you'll get that dust back. Really entertaining, by the way.
They also said there's going to be some other stuff, right? This is only the 2 things that they're telling us about. They said there's
lots of
there's a bunch of new features. So we don't know what else is being added. But if these are the 2 big ones, I'm guessing the other stuff is some small adjustments and things.
I don't think it'll be modes. It seems to be features within existing modes because, they said lots of things are coming, but here's 2 examples. And so as cool as deck importing is, it's not quite the same level as something like a tournament mode or a limited.
It's pretty cool though.
Something.
Now, what if they trolled you, Garrett? What if they trolled you, and then one of the things they didn't highlight was challenging friends with arena decks?
Oh, and they just added to the.
Really I do not. The initial announcement.
I do not care if that is something that is added and it's stealth added, and Patch Note Steve doesn't even make note of it. I will still be here on the very next episode, praising Team 5 like I've never praised them before.
Would be pretty cool.
Yeah.
I wonder though, what other features could be added that aren't worthy to be put in this post? I'm trying to rack my brain to think of what they could be. I just have no idea.
More deck slots.
Okay, they went to 27 deck slots, sure. Or how about wild and standard 18 each, and you when you flip, you only see the wild, and then you only see the standard when you click the button.
I would like that personally.
Kinda cool.
A thing I don't have to have, but it would be cool to have that. Yeah, I'm specifically trying to think of features that wouldn't be huge deals, right? Like, because I feel like if they like, the first thing that popped in my head is, oh, maybe old card packs for past sets and wild and that kind of stuff, but that'd be a big deal. That would be big news.
I feel like they would lead with, we're putting wild packs in the game. Yeah. Not like you can play quests against your friends.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't know. More heroes, maybe, that kind of stuff. Where they're just like, and check out the store. We've got a couple new heroes up. Brightwing is now a hunter. I don't know. What the hell would you make Brightwing?
I don't know. What would Brightwing be?
Brightwing would be like a priest or something.
You think so?
Yeah, I
can see a healer.
Maybe a druid.
Druid would work. Druid would work. They kind of hang
damage
out.
and heals in the
That's
same.
That's true. It's like nature damage and stuff.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I could do druid. I could go with hunter. I could get, because they're yeah, but priest also works because
there's got to be some other little stuff. Maybe there's like UI fixes and like they added the things with like arena where it shows you like how many wins you're on, stuff like that. Maybe there's some new stuff there where you see more information in games.
Yeah, like when we got the in ranked, it would show like your rank, their rank by your names, or if you were in casual, it was just a little wooden sun, that kind of stuff.
How about this scrollable history?
Ooh. That would be fantastic. Or like a proper graveyard or discard pile that you can go and look at, and it's paving the way for future actual graveyard and discard mechanics that don't suck. That'd be wonderful.
Yeah, there is some weird stuff that happens in the history thing too. Like they don't show you cards that were discarded and stuff like that. Like they don't show you like like with Yogg, you hover over it and it shows you every spell that was cast.
Yep.
But when like a card is discarded, you hover over it. It doesn't show you what cards were discarded. Like why? Why would you show me that? That's important information, Or like what card got burned. A card getting burned is like a thing. It's an event that happened in the game. Like show me that.
That might be something. That might be adding things to the history. Maybe not scrollable, although I would certainly love for it to be scrollable.
I would love that. Yeah.
Yeah. But
scrollable would be weird though, because people would be spending a long time scrolling. Sometimes you'd be like, there'd be a lot more roping going on as somebody was like scrolling through the history trying to figure out if you'd played one or two of a card or something like that. So
yeah,
maybe we don't really want that.
What about showing us a card that is discovered?
I feel like that again would be highlighted in this.
They'd probably highlight the hell out of that, but I would like it. I would like it for sure.
Please. I don't think our audience is in the dark at all about our opinion of that particular feature. So we'll just say please and thank you. Anyway,
I mean, it's like there's the little things I think of are like how when you scroll over or hover over your remaining deck, if you have like 7 cards, it shows that you also have 7 cards in hand.
Yeah,
it's gonna be stuff like that. Right?
Yeah,
it's just gonna be simple things that help you with a little more information as you're playing the game. So. Kind of like stuff that like deck trackers are doing for you now that's not game breaking, but I think you could see more stuff like that for sure.
Yeah. Well, moving on.
Maybe whatchamacallits, the crabs are yellow.
Oh yeah,
there's a
Murloc. They might get their yellow outline. Actually, that's probably I would bet on that one.
That's not something I absolutely have to have. But
it's one of those inconsistencies.
Literally unplayable, Garrett.
It's one of those things that I think they just didn't think anyone was ever going to use it. So, and it's such an old card, right? It's a classic card. So I'm sure like that functionality just wasn't in the game when that card came out. So I'm sure somebody just needs to go add a couple of lines of code to that card and then shabam, it'll light up. But
it'll break 5 other things, but shabam.
But it's fine. Yeah, shabam, the crab will light up.
Shabam.
Shabam.
Shabam. That's in the patch notes. It'll just say Shabam, and Jocelyn's going to be like,
say,
they're doing it.
Shabam.
Yeah. Wonderful. Hey, Peter Whalen and Mike Dene sat down with IGN and talked about the development of Angora Legendaries. This is, if you, like me, enjoy hearing about the development cycle of Hearthstone cards, I highly recommend you go and read the full article. But there were some interesting bits I wanted to point out here. One which was a removed card called Excited Lookout. And basically, this was one of the removed cards from the expansion, and it made it to the second week of the final design process before it was removed. Apparently, it was a 2-mana card which shuffled the highest mana card in your hand back into your deck and let you draw another card. Apparently, they were specifically worried about an interaction between Hemet, Holy Wrath, and Molten Giant. So they decided to yank it.
Really? I don't think that the Hemet, Molten Giant, Holy Wrath deck would become tier 1 because you had a card where you could shuffle stuff. I mean, I guess so, but yeah, you'd still have to like get all the way to the end of the game. You know, shuffle your Mountain Giant or Molten Giant back into the deck, have drawn through all your deck, not be dead. Play Hemet, get rid of all the other stuff. So it still is like asking a lot of you to get that OTK off. So, but sure, okay.
Yeah. I just thought it was interesting.
Yeah. And yet Undertaker got right through the process back in the day.
If we're going to sit here and mention all of the clearly ridiculous things that made it through to the live game, we're going to be here a little while.
Sure. No, I just think that's funny. It sounds like a really cool card to me, actually. I like ideas like that where they're very niche, right? They just kind of they do something so specific that it creates a deck type. This was kind of anything can happen, right? Like that.
Yeah.
Like it creates a deck all on its own with this one card. And that I think is really cool.
Yeah. Well, and also for the mana, too. I mean, for 2 mana, it might be worth it just for hand fixing. You know, just you've got an awkward hand. Yeah. It's like, I need this big thing out of here. Give me anything else, please.
Yeah. Like a Shadow Visions. Like Shadow Visions to me kind of makes even more dangerous stuff where I could get second Ungoro packs. I can get, you know, another Divine Spirit and things like that. Like, a third one of them where I can make sure I get it now. Like, that stuff seems more scary to me than this card.
Well, I'm glad.
I agree.
I'm glad you mentioned Shadow Visions because guess how much mana it originally cost? 1 mana is what Shadow Visions originally cost.
Disgusting.
That would have been broken as hell with the Lyra, know, elemental stuff. Like that's Radiant Elemental. Oh, geez, it's already freaking crazy when they start going off with that. That sounds stupid. Thank God they fixed that.
Tilda's just like, I hate it. It's the worst thing ever. It's stupid.
Whoever was like, hey guys, this shouldn't cost 1 mana. I've been testing it.
Yeah.
Make it 2. Good job.
Was that you, Ixar? You get a hug.
Thank Ixar for
you get a hug
making it so Shadow Visions was twice as expensive. Which is still too cheap, by the way.
Well, go check it out over at IGN if you want to read it in full. Now let's talk a little bit about HCT because the Spring Championship is heading to Shanghai, guys. They'll be starting on Friday, July 7th. It'll be taking place at the Silver Hall of the Expo Center in Shanghai, China. This will be the 16 players, which will be comprised of the top 4 from each region's spring playoff. And they're going to be competing for a total prize pool of $250,000.
This is very cool. I love that they're moving it to other regions and it's not just like always in North America somewhere, or I guess Bahamas is what, Central America, but still on our side. I was about to say
Bahamas is not North America.
Yeah, but my point is like it's very
Caribbean,
like
right?
Yeah.
So I guess that counts as Central America. Yeah.
Yeah, it's very kind of like Western centric, and it's really cool to see that they're going over to China. I think that they'll probably then do one in EU, and it's nice that we're going to get to see kind of a little bit more variety when it comes to tournament locations. So I think because I think I've only ever watched like 1, maybe 2 tournaments held in China because the timing is always awkward. But it was the one with the car for the prize. Do you guys
the Ferrari?
Remember that one?
The one they
Ferrari,
just did?
Yeah. Well, that's
no, it was like a year ago or maybe.
Well, no, they keep
longer.
Doing it.
They keep doing it.
They keep offering the Ferrari. They just had another one. It's like China versus another region. So this time it was EU.
This is EU, yeah.
Yeah. And I think Orange won or something. And oftentimes you can take the Ferrari or you can take the money. I think he chose the Ferrari. I think he might be the first guy to choose the Ferrari. I don't know. I don't know the full story, but he would be the first one, right? He's like, dude, I'm going to have my sweet hair flowing in the wind and my Ferrari. Let's do this.
I wouldn't mind a Ferrari. That sounds pretty fantastic.
Yeah, that sounds pretty sweet.
Yeah, why not? So
I will say this, though, about them doing it in China. You just mentioned the time difference. One thing that kind of sucks is it might be hard for me to watch, right? But whatever. I'll VOD it up, I guess.
You watch VODs or, you know, maybe Friday night because who cares? It's Friday, sleeping on Saturday. Stay up.
That's true. I can also do that.
If have a little party, have your friends
over.
Get
up for work.
I was gonna say it would probably be more along the lines of like go to bed early and then like wake up at like 4 a.m. to watch the start of the tournament.
If I was back in college, this would be something I'd be like, guys, yeah, let's go to Costco. Let's get a pallet of Red Bull. We're staying up. Let's watch this. But now,
hell yeah.
I'm a really boring person.
No, now it's VODs. Thank you, Twitch, for putting the Twitch chat in the VOD, so I don't have to miss that toxicity.
Yeah. I'm so glad I don't get to miss Twitch chat, which I close when I do watch things live. But whatever the case is. There's also so this is awesome. I agree with you, Joss. It's an international tournament. The individual championship I think should be happening in different nations. So that's fantastic.
Yeah. Yep.
But there's another thing. There's another side of this,
guys.
Little story
there's
a dark corner of this story, which is the spring playoffs. Which I'm gonna be helping out with this. I'm gonna be going to the spring playoffs for the Florida Fireside, which is at a Buffalo Wild Wings in Brandon, Florida, this time. And if you haven't been keeping up on what pro players are really angry about right now, you might be asking yourself, Garrett, I thought you guys had a really dope-ass venue with, like really amazing internet and tons of places to go and hook up and a nice giant room where the pro players could go and not be bothered.
Yeah, but did it have Wild Wings?
It did, like a block away. We could walk and get wings when we wanted them. And you might be thinking to yourself,
a whole block.
Yeah, you might be thinking to yourself, hey, why is it happening at Buffalo Wild Wings? Blizzard is the reason. And this is the stupidest idea I've ever heard. This is actually the dumbest thing.
Like somebody made a deal with somebody and was like, we'll do it at your venue this time. And then it just happened that way. But a lot of the players were complaining. They're like, I don't want to play in a crowded, loud environment where people are drinking beer and eating Wild Wings.
Yeah.
I want to sit down, put my headphones on, and play some Hearthstone and be able to concentrate, especially on like the biggest tournament for them.
I was gonna say, this is a big deal tournament too. This isn't like your local Fireside, like have a beer, you might win $10. Yay.
Yeah, this is great and fine, I think, for Firesides. I don't think it's great and fine for championship qualifiers. And as of last year, they've started kind of commingling the two. They've started mixing Firesides and championship qualifiers, and our local Fireside has been one of those. We even talked about last year some of the big issues they had with some of the venues that they chose for their qualifiers. We were not one of those venues. Ours ran swimmingly because we have like a perfect venue for it. So like I get it to a certain point. Like this is great for regions and any of the people that run Firesides that have to pay for the venue. This is cool that like what is being provided for you. But I don't think it works for a championship environment. You're having professional players go out there and play for large sums of money, many of which this is their job and their livelihood. And why in God's name would you think that it's a smart idea to have these people playing in a sports bar?
Yeah. The thing is too, it's like the people who are trying to qualify, right? Like this is not like the actual championship. This is the qualify for the championship thing, right? So, but the people like these are people who have kind of enough points, but not quite. So they're not already in. But they've all been putting in hours and hours of their life to earn these points. And now you're saying like the moment where you can make those hours pay off or not, you're going to be in a crowded place with a lot of people. And even like what you mentioned with whether it's in a Buffalo Wild Wings or in, some other place where they're also hosting a Fireside, the problem there is you got a bunch of people sharing the internet, which now you create maybe some Wi-Fi issues and things like that. You create some problems where the venue can't handle the amount of people trying to use it. All those things become potential issues that they could run into where you're in the middle of a game and then things shut off, or you're in a game and like someone spills a beer across your table, or you're going to get, it's like all sorts of things suddenly get introduced that should be non-factors when you're doing a tournament like this. And so, like, they really should just keep these things separate. The social aspect of Hearthstone and the competitive aspect of Hearthstone should just be separate. Just let them be their own things. And sure, you can have Fireside gatherings where somebody gets to qualify for the qualifiers, and that's all fun and great because you get a few, kind of cool stories out of that. But then once it's qualifier time, now just give them their own little area, and or let them just log in from their house or wherever. Like, just it seems crazy to me that they're trying to mix and match all of this stuff. So I don't know. I hope that I don't hope something bad happens, but I hope that it's not like a perfect seamless thing where they're like, this worked great, and it just is like this forever. Like I hope they like kind of realize like this is probably not the right idea and the right approach.
So Garrett, yours is one of the ones that got changed. So did Blizzard actually say to you, like, you have to go to this location? Like, this is where you're going to be held? Like, because I'm just looking at the art, and it doesn't 100% say. It just says 5 of the NA venues are going to be at Buffalo Wild Wings. Like,
okay, so
without getting in trouble if you get it.
Yeah, I'm not the point of contact.
Okay.
So here's what I can say. And it hasn't been confirmed to me by Amy, who is the point of contact. But I can guarantee you there is no universe where she would not use the venue we've been using for the last 3 years in play and give it up for a Buffalo freaking Wild Wings when qualified players are coming to play for a tournament.
Fair enough.
There's no universe where that happens on where our Fireside was given a choice.
Yeah, this reeks to me like a call made from somewhere else for sure. Because the people actually running the things, they have their comfort zones, right? They have their venues that they like, that they know.
Yeah.
To suddenly be moving those is just weird. So
and like
it's
I said,
coming from somebody who made a deal with Buffalo Wild Wings, right? Where they were like, bring in your nerds and have them eat in our wings and drink our beer.
Yeah, it really feels like part of it almost feels like the Firesides that are working fine, which I would argue that ours is, are being punished for the Firesides that aren't working fine. Like, why are you almost blanketing? It's not even a blanket because there are locations within the U.S. that are not Buffalo Wild Wings locations. I believe one of them is Vegas, and a lot of pro players are saying, well, I guess I'm going to spend a bunch of money on a plane ticket to go there because I don't want to play in a Buffalo Wild Wings.
Which is just insane. Yeah. Like, you shouldn't have to put out hundreds of dollars for a plane ticket, not to mention hotels and stuff, to go to a different venue. Like, if
on the off chance that you're gonna win some thousands of dollars way down the road.
Exactly. Yeah. Like, this is just it's asking way too much, I think, of pro players. Like, and especially when because there's no assigning of venues, there's no cap on the number of players that can play in one location. So I mean, realistic, or maybe not realistically, but there is a world where every North American player could fly to Vegas to play in a venue that isn't a Wild Wings. And that to me is it's insane. Like, what's the point in having multiple playoff locations in that case? Like, they should be trying to make it as samey as possible. And as standard, I guess, is a better word than my made-up word of samey, but as standard as possible. They should be trying to make the experience the same across the board so that everyone has kind of an equal playing field. And otherwise, like Dill said, let them play at home. Like, if we're not going to make an equal playing field anyway, just let them play at home.
I'm with Kyle Ferguson in the chat room.
If I'm being playing devil's advocate here, there's some points being made in the chat room that I think should be addressed, and that one is that they may be trying to use this as an opportunity to mainstream esports a little bit. So, Hearthstone qualifiers brought to you from Buffalo Wild Wings might play a little better to somebody who doesn't know what the hell Hearthstone is, right? So suddenly they think, oh, okay, they're in a sports bar. I guess it's more like sports. Maybe there's some kind of something thought there that somebody had where they're trying to bring it into the mainstream world. That could be, and I think that's misguided personally. But I could see why that may be one of the reasons somebody thought of this. And then the other thing is somebody in the chat, and they put a kappa, which they don't think, but I could see why somebody could really think this. Maybe they wanted a more lively atmosphere so that when they're showing it on Twitch and stuff, it seems like people are excited. And really, they're just a bunch of people talking in the background drinking beer. But it seems like there's excitement, to which I say we need to stop caring about the damn crowd until it's BlizzCon
care about the players.
Here's a better idea.
My opinion, but somebody might not share that, and that's maybe why this happened.
If that really is a concern, stop showing the crowd. It's pretty simple.
Exactly.
You don't have to.
Stop trying to do this. People don't care enough to come out. Like, you will get some people who go out and have fun. I went to the one in San Francisco a few years ago, and it was really fun for the people who were there, but it was super awkward because it was kind of empty in the middle of a day on like a work day, and they kept showing like this big sweeping shot of the crowd, and it was like people laying on the floor because there were no chairs. It was just really weird. I'm like, we don't need this. We could just do the thing that every tournament does, where they just show the player on like Skype, and here's your casters, and you cut to them, and they could be in a studio, and then and the people are there for the games, you know, and the casting, and not crowd reactions. So I'm just trying to like find the reasoning why somebody might think this was a good idea, because it's not like somebody's just an idiot. It's like they had reasoning for this, right? It's just, it's not good. It's not good reasoning. It's poor reasoning.
Well, I will say the Toronto venue is the Raiders Esports Center, and I've been there, and it's awesome. So if anyone wants to come play in Toronto, I am extending the invitation from Canada, where we don't play Hearthstone and Buffalo Wild Wings. Please come visit. It's lovely.
Tim Hortons?
Yes, there is Tim Hortons very close by.
I'll play at Tim Hortons.
You'll play it? Okay. Well, they do have free Wi-Fi at all Tim Hortons locations.
Okay. By the way, this episode not brought to you by any of that stuff. Uniregistry.
Yeah. I'm just saying, if you're looking for not a Wild Wings and you want to come play some awesome pro Hearthstone, plus there's a lot of pro players up here that are freaking awesome that play out of Toronto, so...
And I would like to say, despite my very clear opinions about all of this, you should still come out and support local Fireside. So I will see you all at the Buffalo Wild Wings, where I will probably have one too many beers and commence this entire tirade all over again.
You know, if you're going to be there, man, just buy in, I think, you know? Just go for the full experience. Yeah. Get all Buffalo Wild Wings wasted.
Yeah. And you'll know where the cameras are, so you can, like, photobomb the players and like all the crowd shots and stuff. You could just be crazy drunk Garrett at the fire.
I don't support it, but you know what? I'm here for the experience.
If it's happening, I'm gonna go all out.
It's cool. I already bought my tap out shirt. I'm getting ready to really bro out. It's gonna be a good time. Hey, before we move on to strategy and talk wild, we have one more sponsor to thank today, and they are not forcing anyone listening to go and shave within a Buffalo Wild Wings, because they are Harrys.com, and they're confident enough in the quality of their product. They're not going to shoehorn in a place to go and eat fried chicken for you to go and enjoy their product. Check it out, Harrys.com. They make fine, quality razor blades to shave your face, or if you're Dills and I, your shoulders with. And it's not going to cost you an arm and a leg. You can also go and get yourself signed up for their popular trial set for free. The only darn thing you have to worry about is paying for shipping. You just have to go and sign up at harrys.com/TAC, pay the shipping fee, and you will get yourself the trial set, which includes a razor handle, of 5-blade cartridge, and shaving gel. And we thank harrys.com for their support of the Angry Chicken, and also for not making us do this commercial from a Buffalo Wild Wings.
Yeah, man. By the way, when I was on vacation and I forgot my Harry's razor, I used like some cheap off-brand whatever that I got from the little hotel store, and I'd never thought that those were terrible. And it's kind of like one of those you can't go back moments, right? Like if you fly first class one time and then suddenly you're back in coach the next time. It was awful. I was like, oh man, I don't even want to screw it. I want to grow a beard. I'll wait till I get home. It was So I missed my Harry's when I didn't have it. Glad to be back and have it in my arms, my loving embrace, me and my Harry's razor.
Yeah, we also got a wonderful email from a listener, and I'm going to put a little asterisk on this and say, results not typical, but he did shave with a Harry's razor and then turned into Ryan Reynolds. So
what?
This is an actual email we got.
Pretty epic.
Yeah, this was an actual email we got, and I read it, and he actually just attached a photo of Ryan Reynolds saying, "Hey guys, look at me after
like,
years."
Was there a before and after?
There was a before and after picture.
Yeah, it's in our inbox right now, dude. Go take a look at it. It's hilarious. So thank you for that, nameless listener, Ryan Reynolds, if that is your name. Now let's talk some wild in this week's strategy discussion. You have the bumper plays.
Hit it very hard.
Wanna blow something up? Time to pay!
All right, so all of us have been playing quite a bit of Wild as of late. Dills especially. I've been playing a ton of Wild. So we figured today, instead of highlighting one specific deck, we would just kind of have this broad stroke discussion about what Wild is like now, and we've already spoiled a little bit of it with our discussion at the top of the show. So if you're really, I don't know, if for whatever reason you're listening to this and there's a fire and you need to leave, but you are waiting for a TLDR on what Wild is, variety out the yin-yang. Out the wazoo, good luck trying to figure out how to win consistently, because especially at the lower leagues, it's just all over the place.
Yeah, I literally sent a text to our group Slack channel and was like, what the F is this ladder? So I haven't played Wild in a few months, so I started at 25, and I was coming up against people who literally had raid leaders and Goldshire Footmen, and then people who were playing full of legendaries, Yasharaj Druid. I was running into, quest decks, and every single game that I played was a different deck. I was like, whoa, this is just absolute insanity.
Yeah, it's really weird when it's like a little bit of a shock when you come from Standard, where we've been so used to for so long the idea that there are several meta decks at the top, and these are the decks you're going to run into most of the time. Now, it doesn't mean that there's no variety in Standard, but generally there is, a kind of a set meta, and you can reasonably expect that you'll run into X number of mid-range shamans, X number of pirate warriors, X number of whatever, dragon, priest, whatever the kind of top set of decks are. And in Wild, there's no reasonable expectation to be had at all. It is insanity up and down, and I've gotten to as high as 12 or something, and then fell all the way back to 15 because it was just all these decks I didn't know what the hell was happening. I've also been tinkering a little bit, probably too much, and I'm sure there is a meta in there. It's just so broad that there's and not enough people. I think it's not as documented, so there's not enough people where the Tempo Storm meta snapshot comes out and suddenly it kind of shapes the meta, right? Or a tournament happens, everybody sees the top tournament decks, and then you see the next day on the ladder a bunch of those decks. It's so undocumented and just kind of fringe that people don't really know what the best thing is. A lot of people are making homebrewed decks, and so you're just kind of running into whatever the hell that guy decided to play,
Yeah.
And it's weird.
I also ran into, and I don't know if you've been noticing this because you've played a lot more Wild games than I have, obviously, this season, but I also ran into a few people, including one Secret Paladin right before the show, who literally just seemed to take a deck that they had and was powerful in its prime, and that's just what they're using. They haven't teched in any of the new cards that have come out since Secret Paladin rotated out. It was just, It was literally card for card what it was 2 years ago. And I've got to say, I was playing Priest and I stole Dr. Boom, and it was the best thing that ever happened, because I was like, oh my god, Boom is green on 7. I remember this. It made me so happy.
Yeah,
I think that's definitely happening too, because there are a lot of people who don't play the game with the same type of fervor and attention to detail that we do, because we obviously have to kind of know what's going on all the time, right?
Well, and think about what we've always said for the last 2 Standard rotations, when people get mad that their favorite card or cards are going to Wild, and it's more or less killing an archetype that they really enjoy playing. We always say, go play Wild. Let's just
Sure.
That's fine. So there is this kind of time capsule aspect to it as well, and now we're just at this point where, because of the surge in popularity of Wild, where you never know when that's going to happen. You really don't know what you're going to go up against. Are you going to go up against I don't know we need to coin new terminology. Are you going to run up against a deck that is a modern Wild deck where it's going to include cards from the latest sets, or are you going to run into verbatim Secret Paladin from 2 years ago? And you just have to be prepared for that, and everything in between. And personally, I just think it's one of the raddest experiences that I've had in Hearthstone.
It is, and it's also it's frustrating when you're not used to it. But then, like I said at the top of the show, this is kind of what I asked for. This is kind of what I wanted, right? A varied meta where everything felt just crazy, and everyone was playing whatever OP thing they could come up with, and you could find a lot of synergies. So your deck was just all built around some idea, and it just really adhered to that idea. And but I guess the issue that makes it difficult right now to climb in that type of environment is like, what do I play that counters this? And that is generally how you do climb in the ladder, is you play something that counters what everyone else is doing. And here, my thing is countering 30%. They're countering me 30%. And the other 30%, it's like a completely 50-50 type of scenario.
Yeah.
And that's not what we're used to. Usually I can counter over 50% of the meta, and that's what's going to make me get win streaks and climb the ladder pretty quickly. So it's just been, it feels like a real grind right now. And that's okay, because at least the games are interesting, and I'm okay with it. But when you set a goal for yourself, like hit legend and then get top 64, suddenly it's just that goal is just so far away. And it felt like it was like when I got to 11, slipped all the way back to 15. It's just that's a super feels bad man scenario right there.
Yeah.
And it just felt like, what should I be doing right now? And it's a little hard to grasp what that is. I'm struggling to find it. And usually I can pinpoint what I'm doing wrong, and I can pivot and adjust my strategy. And Wild, it feels like there's no real ability to do that. So I think the real good strategy right now is to pick something that you enjoy, something that you also think is good, and just stick with it and just have some fun, right?
Yeah, I think it very much comes down to your goal. Obviously, Dill's, yours is of a quite try-hard nature. So the challenge laid out before you by Wild is going to be maddening at times. Whereas I would argue, everyone, just embrace it. Give yourself to Wild. Just embrace the madness and try and have
usually
some fun.
Wild is that place for me, right? It has been historically the place where I go and I get done with my try-harding in standard, and then I go over to Wild and I play some wacky whatever. And if I end up getting on a crazy win streak with that wacky whatever, like the time I got to rank 5 with Milkshake only, it just kind of happened, right? It was organic, and it just... So this time, though, there's incentive suddenly, and I'm forcing it a little bit. There's also a bunch of players that aren't usually playing Wild, so they're in there try-harding, but they don't really know what to do. That's probably contributing to why it's gotten so kind of out of hand, right? But I mean, out of hand is good, I think. I don't know.
Well, and we also recently had the Heroic Tavern Brawl, and like we mentioned, Tempo Storm has a meta snapshot now, and it is of the Tavern Brawl, but still, it's giving people a place to go who normally would go to Tempo Storm to see what's going on in Standard. So there's a whole bunch of lists that are available now, and even then, I would say, like, I think I was playing Dragon Priest, which technically Tempo Storm has in Tier 3. It didn't feel like Tier 3. Like, I won, I think, all but 2 games. And the ones I didn't win just went, like, super, super late, and I kind of ran out of steam, and it was against Druids who had big, huge things. So, you know, it doesn't feel like things are underpowered because it's Wild. There's so many crazy combinations of things that you can do over there that even Tier 3 things are getting win streaks and getting things done. So I think there's so much going on, and there's so much power that, like you said, Dills, it's so hard to actually get any kind of traction going.
Well, you also have to understand, whatever these tiers are, especially the Tempo Storm one, these were just like some pros trying to figure out where they fell, right?
Yeah.
The reality of it is that a Dragon Priest right now, if you end up running into a bunch of aggro, and like I think I said in the Slack, like, put in 2 defenders. Find a way to get those 2 defenders in there. If you're running into a bunch of aggro, you are going to counter the hell out of that aggro once you put up a giant wall with those defenders. So that's going to bump that up, I think, to like a Tier 1, depending on how, and especially at the bottom of the ladder or the mid ladder, where people are trying to, get ranked up as fast as they can. You're going to see a lot of aggro. So if you can counter that with something like a Dragon Priest, you're going to do really well. But then again, like, if you play aggro, sometimes you're feeling like, hey, they told me this was Tier 1, and all I'm running into is people teched against aggro. You kind of got to take those tier rankings with a grain of salt, right? Like, they're not necessarily playing a million games and saying, this is definitely Tier 1. They're just kind of looking at them and saying, well, this, I think, has a higher power level than this one. But it's all kind of rock, paper, scissors when it comes down to it.
Yeah, I think tiers in general are kind of a dangerous thing and a mental trap to fall into overall. We always refer to Tempo Storm because it's just a good place to go and find deck lists, and I think is a very good representation of overall what the meta, what decks people are playing, because this is one of the most popular destinations for people to go and net deck. But yeah, like, Dragon Priest is insane. I had one of the best runs in the original Heroic Tavern Brawl with Dragon Priest, and yeah, I'm not looking at. I do not go to Tempo Storm and look up deck lists and make my decision based on what's in tier 1.
Yeah, I usually look for something that I think sounds fun, and then if it's like bottom tier, I'm like, oh, maybe that's not a good idea. But if it's somewhere in like the mid range of it, I'm like, okay, we can make this work. By the way, I really hope that Vicious Syndicate starts putting out a wild list, because theirs is based purely on data, right?
Yeah.
So that would be nice to see, because I can't collect enough data, right? Like, so I can look at my own stats, and I can say, okay, when I was playing, Warrior, I was doing pretty good. When I was playing Priest, I was doing pretty good. When I was playing Paladin, I was doing pretty good. I did really poor with Mage. I did really poor with Druid, right? And I can know that for me, okay, my personal tier list says those are not very good for me right now. But when I kind of look at what other people are playing, it's just too small of a sample size to make any real judgment on that, right? And again, it's also just my own history. It's not going to represent my future. Everything's going to change. The texture of what I'm going to be running into is going to change as I go up or down, as days pass by and people have different goals on the ladder, right? So like later in the season, if people are close, they're going to try hard even more. But if I'm at like rank 17 late in the season, everyone's going to be doing whatever the hell, right? So it's like all that kind of stuff. There's too many factors to really make real judgments. So like that's why I really think just make sure you're playing a deck you think is decent and you have fun with, and kind of just stick with it and just try to play out each matchup as best you can, right? I do like the 4 that they have in Tier 1, though. I think these are all solid decks you could definitely choose from.
Yeah, I've got to say, it's going to be a really, really long time before I ever choose anything with Reno in the name.
I can get behind that.
I'm so past Reno anything.
I still find it fun just because I like being able to put all the cards in, and you only get one of them, but it's kind of fun to be like, oh, I want a mind control tech because that's cool sometimes, And I think with Wild now, one of the funnest things is trying to figure out, because there's so many cards. There's just so many. Trying to figure out which are the 30 that actually belong in there. It's kind of a fun little puzzle to put together.
And it's an even more elaborate puzzle when you're trying to do a Reno build.
Yeah,
it's like it's 30 individual out of all of these. I'm not doubling up on Jack.
Nope.
Unless you want to, flirt with danger.
So you put the top 4 that are listed on Tempo Storm in here, and so those are Control Shaman, Egg Druid, Reno Lock, and Dragon Priest. Oh, that's not.
I put that in there because you said
number 1.
You said you wanted to talk about Dragon Priest.
Oh yes, I put that in top tier. That's on me. No, but the actual what they have is Control Shaman, Pirate Warrior, Reno Lock, and Reno Mage is what they list as the top, and I would agree in theory with all of these. But I also I definitely put Egg Druid up there. It is all over the place, and it's just so good in Wild because the Nerubian Egg, like that Devilsaur Egg, is okay, but it's just too expensive, and you essentially just get 1/1 more worth of stats in the long run. I guess you could say you get 1-2 more, but the first half of the body you actually want to die.
You want that to go, yeah.
So having an extra health on that isn't really as good as people might think it is.
Not to mention,
but what you also get back in Egg Druid is Jeeves, Haunted Creeper, Echoing Ooze. There's just so many things that help that deck go that it's incredible in Wild. So I think anybody who's really trying to climb, Egg Druid is probably going to be one of your best bets to go to.
It's my favorite.
Control Shaman really fun. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, it's my Egg Druid is my favorite right now. I know I've mentioned it multiple weeks now, and for me, a lot of it boils down to the fact that Druid has probably been my most hated class throughout the entire history of Hearthstone, and for whatever reason, I'm enjoying Egg Druid. I think it's because I've always enjoyed Zoo, and Egg Druid feels very Zoo-like. Only I get to buff my entire board simultaneously and feel like I'm cheating.
Yeah, definitely. The interesting thing about the Control Shaman is that we saw this type of Shaman really kind of come to life towards the end of Mean Streets when people were playing the Goya Shaman. So like the Super Control Shaman that had Yashiraj and stuff like that. And so this style is still really, really good, and now made even better by Wild with the addition of Volcano. Volcano taking over for Elemental Destruction means you're not overloading for 1 million every time you want to clear the board, right? Mm-hmm. And that was always a problem. You had to run the Lava Shock. Now a simple Volcano, and you can actually do stuff the next turn. And
it frees up deck slots, right?
Yes, and yeah, exactly. And so it also means that you can play this N'Zoth style, and you don't have to do the thing where you were trying to Madame Goya into Earth Elementals and stuff like that. The N'Zoth style is really strong when you can bring back Sylvanas, Sneeds, Kel'Thuzad is in there. So you get a lot of power in the late game with that N'Zoth that you don't quite get. And, of course, Sludge Belchers that you don't get in Standard right now. It's really hard to find quality N'Zoth decks in Standard because when you look at, like, Death Rattle minions, there's not stuff like Sludge Belcher anymore, right?
Sylvanas.
There's 2 3s that pop out 2 2s. It's like, no, that's not good enough.
No, it's just the Death Rattle. It was Naxxramas is gone. Is really what it was.
Yeah.
Naxxramas was just this Death Rattle powerhouse, even after the Undertaker nerf.
Yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right. Like that was kind of the Death Rattle expansion, and we now no longer have a bunch of these open. And it's good to be honest, but like when I'm building N'Zoth in Standard, I start looking at Harvest Golems and stuff. I'm just like, what do I put in here? You know? And that card has just been obsolete for so long. It's weird to like the Twilight Summoner, the 1/1 that turns into a 5/5. I saw Savitz was playing a deck with that in it today, and that's indicative of the lack of options you have in N'Zoth right now. But in Wild, hey man, there's just a ton of stuff to put in.
Cream of the crop.
Reno Lock has actually like 6 different versions right now.
It has such a
and
long
the version that we've got listed in our show notes is the combo version, which of course is the Power Overwhelming, which went to Wild, and then you use Emperor Thaurissan to make everything cheaper, and then you can Leroy, Faceless, Power Overwhelming, all that kind of stuff, and Emperor Thaurissan obviously now in Wild too. But you can also play Cruel the Shackled or the Unshackled. I can't remember if he's shackled or unshackled. You can play him with a bunch of demons and void callers, and you can also do a N'Zoth build as well with all the Sludge Belchers, Sylvanas, that kind of stuff in a Reno build. So there's a bunch of different ways you can go. But the beauty of the Reno Lock is, of course, that it has 1 million removal options and big AoEs and things like that. So you can fight back pretty well against aggro. And then, of course, when you get Antique Healbot, you don't necessarily, it's not like Reno or Bust, right? You can still heal for a lot because of Wild and having
and Brand's in there, who is now in Wild. And it's funny, we're talking about all these cards. Like, you just mentioned Power Overwhelming as a highlight of Reno Lock in Wild. And it's like, it was just here a month ago. It was here. It's always been around. And now, all of these cards that are no longer in Standard are these highlights. And so Brand,
it was a staple of Lock forever, and I think it's one of the reasons why Warlock is struggling so bad right now, because it was in every version of Warlock. It was, Zoolock, Reno Lock, Dragon Lock, whatever your version was, you always ran at least Power Overwhelming. Right? And that was a huge tool for them, and it's gone.
It was their win condition in just about every damn deck. But forget all of that. I'm just happy I get to Dark Bomb stuff again.
Dark Bombs are nice. You get to Implosion stuff again and have it hit for 2 and be super mad.
I'm not happy about that. I just don't ever want to play Implosion.
Just don't run it. Yeah, that card is kind of stupid. It's so powerful. You kind of.
It is, but it's just Crackle all over again, man. I don't need to put myself in that situation. Doesn't need to happen.
Yeah, no. I've been the king of the 2-plosion for a while, so I get you. And then the last deck we wanted to highlight was, of course, the Dragon Priest, which I think, Jocelyn, you were saying you played with a lot of success. I think it's been my most successful deck in Wild this season. Their version is running double Velen's Chosen. I went down to 1 because sometimes it's a hard card to actually use. You need a minion on board. I'd rather always make sure I have minions. And I think I went down to, can't remember what else I cut. I cut something else and put in double Defender Vargas, and I found that double Defender Vargas was everything I ever wanted it to be. We've talked about Dragon Priest in the past, how good that card can be, because the weakness is, of course, that you have low attack minions with high health, and Defender Vargas gets rid of that problem, gives you high enough attack to actually trade well with things. So, and also it just stops aggro in its tracks, right?
Yeah,
so.
it just gives you even more taunt in a deck that already had a respectable amount of taunt. But yeah, you're absolutely right.
I haven't actually, and I think this kind of goes with where you are on the ladder, because I didn't actually see a lot of aggro. I mean, because I was playing like right down at the bottom, right? So I feel like a lot of the aggro has probably already pushed up to probably more around where you are, if not higher, Dills. I think a lot of people who are down in the 25 to probably 15 range are playing more fun, control-y, big type things. So I kept the Velen's Chosen in, and actually that helped me a lot more, because then I was able to get minions with 4 to 6 attack and then kill their things, and there's just so much health with that +4 on the health, right? So then all my stuff kept surviving, whereas if I'd had defenders, it would have been, you know, +1/+1, which wouldn't have been as helpful. So, but then again, that's with the caveat that I did not see a lot of aggro. So I think that the bottom of the ladder doesn't seem to be as aggressive as further up.
I wanted to make sure that I wasn't putting a lot of, like, because when you defender, it doesn't feel like you're putting a lot of card into one card. So you're like, you have like a lower risk factor in a way. Or if you put a Velen's Chosen on something and then they just outright kill it with, you know, one card, or sometimes like not even a full card, then that just like feels terrible. But you're right, it can be a huge swing when you can put it on a minion that's already there and then kill something of theirs with a lot of value and keep your minion around. And then of course, if you're running double Holy Nova, which their version is, it makes Holy Nova just so much better, right? Yeah. So I think I also went to double Dragonfire and only one Holy Nova on my version, because I wasn't running double Velen's. So yeah. But you know, the other thing too is, where you are on the ladder is going to be more people playing homebrewed decks and having just trying to have some fun, because you know, it's halfway through the season. They probably aren't people who have high expectations on where the finish is going to be yet. But where I am, I think I've had a lot of people who have given up on life and just been like, okay, I'm going to play aggro and try to climb out of this. Because I've considered it many times too. And I just decided, screw it. I'm just going to counter all those people doing that. And that's how I will climb out of here.
Yeah. You should just do like a really quick Dills plays Pirate Warrior and just don't stream it and just get to 10 so you can't lose any stars at that rank, and then start streaming and go back to fun stuff. Yeah.
Probably a good idea.
But... Yeah.
Maybe I'll do it like while I'm watching the Warriors game tonight or something. And I'll
there you go.
Oh,
it's perfect then. Yeah. Playing Warrior, watching Warriors. It's thematic. Yep.
Very thematic. But I mean, I will encourage people. Don't get me wrong. Like, just because Wild has been a bit of a struggle and like feels a little more grindy than it has in the past, it's a good time to get in there and try it out, because there is more information now than there ever has been, and there's more people in there playing interesting and fun decks. There's more options. You can actually make some of the quests that don't work in Standard. You can make those work in Wild a little bit more. I had a really fun time actually theory crafting how to make a Wild quest rogue, where I had things available to me like Target Dummy and Zombie Chow. I was like, oh my god, this is amazing! Like, I can actually play some cool stuff in here. So,
oh my god, Target Dummy.
Yeah,
that's amazing.
It's like infinitely better than Wisp, because it's once you get the quest done, it's a 5/5 with taunt.
Yeah, man.
And you don't play the Wisp because you like want. You play the Wisp to get the quest done quickly and then have like 0-cost 5/5s. Well, you can still do the quest done quickly and then you get 0-cost 5/5s with taunt. Oh my god. Even better.
Pretty fantastic. Well, before we move on, let's go around the table. I want a recommendation from each of you. One deck, just, you don't even need to quantify it. One deck you would recommend everyone go out and try and Wild, starting with you, Joss.
Oh, man. Starting with the only thing that I've actually played that I have any kind of experience with is Dragon Priest, but I feel like there could be a really big dudes druid, or the just many dudes paladin could be so good. So yeah, actually, you know what? I'm going to stick with paladin. I'm going to say many dudes handle it paladin, because that's what I've been saying since Ungoro came out. That good deck exists. I'm sure of it. So
awesome.
It totally does, actually. In fact, there's a list I could link to you that runs N'Zoth, and it runs Sea Giants, and it runs all the dudes. It runs Sausage Party and stuff.
Please link that. Please link that in the notes for the 20 tweets we will get tomorrow asking for that.
All right, I'll shoot it over to you guys.
I'm not going to look at it though, because I just want to build one. That's going to be my goal. But
going blind, going blind.
Yeah. I mean, I often still build stuff, but I will look and see what other people have done, and then I will like go off and do.
I'm just literally going to type "dude" into the search bar and see what comes out. And if it doesn't give me everything with Silverhand recruits, I'm going to be really sad with the programmers at Team 5.
Dills, what would be the one deck you would tell folks to go out and try in Wild?
I'm going to go with Paladin 2, and there was a list that I found that looked really fun, and I tried it a few times, and it is super fun. I can't say for sure if it's the best, but it was really fun. And it is a secret Paladin with Finja and the Murloc package.
Ooh.
And any Fin can happen.
Because Secret Paladin needed to become more powerful.
Yeah. I'll go ahead and I'll put it in the notes as well. Murloc Secret Pally with any Fin. That
sounds disgusting.
It's one of those decks though where it might be trying to do too many things, so it's actually not as good as you think it might be. But and I'd probably make a couple of changes to it. They have like a Barnes in there and stuff, which I guess they're trying to end up getting like extra Murlocs and things like that, or Tyrion. But I would probably take out the Barnes. I'd probably take out the Wicker Flame and put in a second Stonehill. There'd be a couple changes I would make to it, but it's a pretty cool idea. I like it.
Well,
what about you, Garrett?
I'm not going to recommend Egg Druid because I've mentioned it enough. So I'm going to go with Control Shaman. I think a lot of people missed the similar type of archetype towards the end of Mean Streets. And if you did, I think this is one of the most unique ways to play Hearthstone. It is such a bizarre waiting game that pays off and is consistent. And
so I haven't actually looked at the deck. Does it run Tunnel Trog Totem Golem?
No.
Okay,
there is no early
I'm
game.
on board.
It doesn't even run a Lightning Bolt. It starts on 2.
I have it open right now. There's no early game. And
excellent.
Dills, you're saying it starts on 2. Does it? Because your 2 drops is Ancestral Knowledge, Ancestral Spirit, Devolve, Maelstrom Portal is pretty much your only actual playable card there, and Reincarnate.
Yeah, on 2 you actually just totem every single time.
Yeah,
you pretty much totem on 2, 3, and 4 every single time.
Yeah,
and then you Volcano on 5, and then you start playing Hearthstone.
There's no thing from below, but you're toteming your ass off. So
a lot of people are playing it with Thing from Below. A lot of people aren't playing the Reincarnate. There's variations.
I love the Reincarnate. It's so cool.
Reincarnate's pretty fun because you kill it off, and then when you N'Zoth, you get 2 of them. So it is cool. I like putting in the thing that death rattles and puts them back in your hand. The new card. Ancestral something. It's Ancestral something.
Yeah. Oh man.
I'm actually.
I like putting in that card though. I think that card is super good for it because you get multiple versions of them that you can play, right? So you can like play White Eyes again. You can play Spirit Echo.
Yes.
Yeah, but you can like play the second White Eyes. You can play the second Sludge Belcher, all that kind of stuff. So pretty fun.
I just like those both Ancestral Spirit and Reincarnate. I like those that they're on the 2 mana slot because there's just some real dumb stuff you can do with 10 mana and Kel'Thuzad if anything is still on your board when
that's true.
When that turn
and of course,
rolls
having
around.
Sylvanas back means it's like 2 mana mind control if you can get Sylvanas to get out there. So
Yep. Yeah. It's very easy to spend 8 mana and just Sylvanas Reincarnate.
Mm-hmm. And then, like I said, you'll get 2 Sylvanas back at the end of the game. So
it's so gross.
Yeah, everything you reincarnate, it's like it died and then it came back and it died again. So you get they get all put in the dead pool.
Playing N'Zoth in this deck feels like pulling off a fatality in Mortal Kombat. It's like you just rip their head off and the spine's still attached. It's wonderful.
Yeah, it's pretty disgusting.
Yep. So that's gonna be my my recommendation. So. Before we take an email and wrap this up, let's thank our patrons supporting us at patreon.com/TAC. If you're out there, if you're listening to the sound of my voice and you like the Angry Chicken and you have ever wanted to support the show, Patreon's the best way to do so. So thank you everyone who are supporting us thus far. And on this episode, thank you to Mads M, Chris C, Priapus, Todd S, and Alex A. Thank you all so very much for your support of the show. And now let's take an email.
Hello?
Hello, it's me.
Hello.
Just quickly, do you get my message?
Yep.
Oh.
Hello, brother.
You can send your emails to tacpodcast@gmail.com. Brent J writes in and says, I used to play Hearthstone with my brother. He loved it until it got too expensive for him on principle. He's now discouraged to play with me, as I'm several expansions ahead of him because I kept buying packs. How dare you? What do you think about a type of friend battle mode where you can only select cards that both players have in his or her collection? Alternatively, I would still love to see a game mode where you can select which expansions you allow. This would not only allow you to be on the same page, but imagine being able to allow earlier expansions and later expansions while disallowing middle expansions. For example, you could see weird things like allowing Ungoro and Goblins vs. Gnomes, but not Gadget Zan or Old Gods. I realize that with a friend, you could do the honor system and just say which expansions you're using, but this isn't quite what I'm going for. What do you think of a game mode that either allows you and your friend's common collection cards, or instead of that, allows you to choose which expansions are or are not allowed? To your first thing, I would just say just use the honor system, but your second idea is awesome, and I would love to see something like this. Specifically where it allows me to play against strangers with these type of rule sets, because that's the kind of thing.
Yeah, because with a friend, you can definitely, like, honor system is fine because you can say, okay, only these, and now go off and build your deck, and then let's go play. Especially if you're with your brother. I mean, come on.
Yeah, yeah.
And if they play a card that's not within the allowed set, you're like, hey, you lose, man. But you're right. Like, to be able to queue with these is, I think, the thing that would make it really awesome.
I was going to say this sounds like a kind of custom rule set tournament mode where you can kind of like create your rules, so which expansions or cards you allow or however you want to work that out, and then you could either, you know, like challenge a friend, which is kind of how tournaments work right now, or, you know, if you could do something like Dill said where you could actually queue, but I mean that becomes a little bit more difficult when you have custom rules, because you'd have to queue into somebody who has exactly the same set of custom rules. So but if there was a way to kind of search for a rule set and then say, yeah, I want to queue in over there. Imagine that.
So I'm gonna give a little shout out here to tempostorm.com/Hearthstone/sealed-generator. They've updated the tool for their sealed generator where you can now actually customize. You can do standard or wild generator, or you can do custom, and you can choose which expansions are actually allowed. And then what it does is you open a bunch of fake packs. You choose how many packs from each expansion. And so you could say, like, I only want soulbound cards, I only want classic cards, and then I want some grand tournament and some Ungoro. And you could just choose those only, and then you would open up a bunch of packs, and then you'd make decks out of the packs that you open. Now, obviously, sometimes you may not have one of the cards that's in those
in your actual
expansions.
Collection, yeah.
But you could probably figure something out to make that work. Hopefully, one day, what they'll also add in is, like, I can input my entire collection, and then it'll, like, only open from that collection. But yeah, at least there's somebody out there independently doing something that could kind of make this thing work, so you can play against your brother and have some fun. And it's a pretty cool idea that they've actually made it super customized. So. But we have tried in the, like, I ran a tournament for, like, subs of my channel and stuff where we did a pauper tournament, which means which pauper is like a term for, like, a poor person or whatever. But the idea is you could only play basic and classic, like, either had to have no gem or a white gem in it, right? That was it. You couldn't put rares, epics, or legendaries in your decks, and it was actually pretty fun. So I mean, there's people doing stuff like this all the time. It would be cool if it was just in the game. We've talked about that many times. I would love it. Sandbox mode, I can, like, pick and choose and then play against other people with those rules. Hell yeah. Yeah.
It all sounds very cool. Just give me like a World of Warcraft Battleground veto screen where it's just a bunch of checkboxes by all the expansions. And
that would actually be really cool if you could just say, like, I don't even know what you would call that ladder, but
like Crazy Wild. Meh.
Yeah, Crazy Wild.
Crazy Wild. Yeah, I don't know. I'm sure that would get to the point where population might actually be a problem. So I don't know. Make it so I can see how many people are playing with that specific combination. So I can be like, oh, there's 3 people. You know what? Let me add another set and see what happens. Oh, 500 people. Okay, cool. Let's try this one.
Well, and Snowpoint Q in the chat room has a good point. It could be really cool where there was another ladder mode, whatever, with changes every week, which was, or maybe not each week, but even if we had like monthly changes and have your basic classic set and then 2 random sets on top of that. So like it would be Crazy Wild where you had, you know, like 1 month it might be Ungoro and Grand Tournament are legal. And then the next month it's, you know, I don't know. Why am I totally blanking on the names of all of the sets in the game?
I see your point.
Gods and Mean Streets and Basic and Classic or something to kind of like mix up the card pool a little bit. That could be really cool too.
They just add a button and it just says the curator, and you click on it, and it's a curated ladder. And every month,
that would be super cool.
Every month, the legal cards change.
Yeah.
Could be interesting.
Oh my God, I love this. The more we talk about it, the more I love it. Because then it would be like the super crazy fun that we have in the first month after a standard rotation, but it would be every month.
Well, at a certain point, you still need new cards to be added, I think, because you'll.
Oh yeah, definitely. Well, but that's the thing, right? Because with all the different possible combinations of 2 random sets being legal in that format, then you also have more sets being added 3 times a year. Like the combinations are just going to go up. That's exciting. I like that idea.
Yeah, that does sound cool. That being said, I would really like a best of series before we get that. I have enough best of 1 formats to play in Hearthstone. Thank you very much. But that does sound rad, and I'd be into that. So, good email, Brent. And well, now at the very least you'll be able to complete quests against your brother. So hopefully that will be a little more incentive. Also, if one of you cheats on the honor system, you can kick the other one in the shins. So. Perks and dangers of being able to play within the same, or maybe not. I don't know. Maybe you're older and you live on other, opposite ends of the country or something. But
virtual kick in the shins.
Indeed,
I do that to Garrett all the time.
Yeah, hack their computer and take it over for a day. Say this is your fault. You made me do this. So anyway, before we wrap this up, Jocelyn, I believe a shout out is in order.
Yes, so very, very happy anniversary to Venla and Joe, who are both huge fans of the show. I am so late on this. I am so sorry. This was sent in kind of right around the time that the standard year rotation was happening and Ungoro was released. So our shows have been super crazy, super packed since then. So it was actually a few weeks ago, but I just wanted to make sure that this did get in the show at some point. Very, very happy anniversary to you guys. I'm glad you like the show, and I'm sorry that I'm so late.
Happy belated anniversary.
Yes.
Oh, well, that brings us to the end of this episode of The Angry Chicken. Thank you again to our epic patrons who support us at patreon.com/TAC. Extra special thanks to our Patreon producers, Declan H. and Peter Williams. Check out more of this show. The whole back catalog can be found at amove.tv or on our YouTube at youtube.com/amovetv. We have swag, t-shirts available at shirts.amove.tv, custom etched glassware at etched.amove.tv, so go check that out. Follow the show on Twitter at TAC Podcast, and catch us live Tuesdays at 4 p.m. Eastern Time right here on twitch.tv/amovetv. Dills, where can folks find you?
You can check me out on Twitter at WillieDills, twitch.tv/WillieDills. And I know I made an announcement about the taco last week, and then a bunch of people contacted me and said, that's Memorial Day weekend or something. So got to workshop this again. I'm going to talk to some people that I was looking for some help on, like adminning, because Garrett had a really good idea about that. And that way I can like run the broadcast, and then I'll get back to everybody. You'll hear about it on like Twitter and stuff. So not gonna like make any announcements on dates, because I tried to, and then everyone was like, no, not that weekend. So I want to make sure that as many people can come as can make it. So just stay tuned. More information to come soon, but I'm working on it now.
So your long weekend is different than our long weekend then, because our long weekend is the one coming up. Yeah, because I looked at
all the long weekends,
that's
man.
Fine. That's totally fine. But our long weekend is this up and coming weekend. So.
Also, it does make sense. Like if Garrett's doing the fireside thing that weekend, then that might be not the best one to do. Our own thing too. So
it's problems. No day is ever perfect for everyone, sadly.
Exactly.
But yeah, no, that's good to hear. I'm
I just want to make sure that like whatever day it ends up being is as good as it can be, and that's what we'll do.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that when you told me, because I had no plans, and I was going to be home that day.
But
anyway,
I know this. So. It'll be best of 2 or best of 3.
Oh, it's like
best of 2.
Best of 2. It's a new format. You've never heard of. Sorry, best of 3.
You play
I always
2
say
games, then we flip a
in
coin.
pool. That's why. And in pool, I say race to 2 or whatever, right? Which is really best of 3. But best of 3 conquest standard. We're gonna do like the regular old format for everybody because it's the first one we've done in Ungoro. So that's what I know now. At this point, that's the information I can for sure share with everybody.
Yeah. So prep your standard decks, guys.
Prep your standard decks. Be ready. You only need 3 of them because of a ban. But yeah, should be simple.
Famous last words.
We're going for simple here.
It never is. It never is. How about you, Jocelyn? Where can you be found?
Hi, you can find me on Twitter and Twitch. I'm at Joss Clays. You can also find me right here on twitch.tv/AMoveTV every Wednesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern for my general gaming podcast, which is called The Gamers Inn. Awesome. Easy peasy, done short.
Folks, I'm on Twitter at Garrett Art. Every podcast I do is at amove.tv. Go check them all out. And check out nomoonart.com for my graphic design portfolio. If you need a graphic designer, contact me there. So that's going to do it for this week's episode. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. Thank you, Dills and Jocelyn, for being here and stuff.
And wearing fun things.
And wearing fun things. Yeah, again, if you're watching video and you're wondering...
we were going to mention it.
We're not going to mention it.
We should just start doing that and not saying anything.
What are you talking about?
We all show up in like weird sunglasses. Never talk about it.
Never talk about it. Never make any mention to things that if you're listening on audio, you never notice to begin with. So that is all that matters. Until next time, job's done.
Job's done.
Job's done.
Yes!